Is the name of the game for President Cyril Ramaphosa right now. He's chatted over the phone with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, as you heard. And today, Ramaphosa is opening the union buildings to his Mozambican colleague, Filipe Nyusi. Will the ongoing battle against insurgents in Mozambique's Cabo Delgado province dominate talks between the pair of the neighboring presidents? Aviwe Mtila is trying to find out. Aviwe, thank you for joining us from the union buildings. What are we expected to be the essence of talks having been between the two counterparts?
Well, eNCA is focusing largely on 4 committees. You understand that this binational committee was set up in 2011 and the inaugural one happening back in 2015. We've heard the second session 2017, and now, of course, this is the third session as they build those ties between the two countries. You do understand trade amounting to 75 billion rand just in 2021, the bulk of that trade falling on South Africa's side, exports to Mozambique at a tune of 64 billion, while imports coming from Mozambique at that tune of 11 billion. So basically the committees are expected to focus on 4 main issues. That is diplomacy, that is the economic and finance, as well as security and the social committee here. But just to get more insight, I am joined by the DDG of Africa at DIRCO, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Thank you for joining us at eNCA. But we've heard these sessions happening from the 8th and now, of course, the 11th of March. What are the talks that are happening behind doors that will benefit, more importantly, South Africa?
You know, actually, all the talks that are taking place are to benefit South Africa and Mozambique. There's nothing outside that. As you mentioned in your opening statement, that we have these 4 committees which are looking at the different pillars of this relationship. There's a social one that looks at health issues, amongst others, looks at health issues, looks at pension issues and so on. Because remember, COVID does not know borders. HIV doesn't know borders and all that, and we share borders with Mozambique. So we're looking at those issues. And we also look at the question of defense, security. You would recall that South Africa is part of the SADC contingent that is in Mozambique to assist to fight against the terrorism that is taking place in northern Mozambique. And also before that, we had cooperation in the areas of piracy, anti-piracy, patrolling together with the Mozambican Navy and all of that. And we also have police cooperation that they look at cross-border crime, theft of cars, how do we get those cars back to South Africa and so on. They look at the cross-border crimes and all of that. And also the question, the biggest elephant in the room is the question of immigration and migration. One, the question of borders, how we manage the borders to make it easier, because, as you mentioned, of the volume of trade that we have, so it must be easy to transport goods in and out and all of that. So some of the borders are being upgraded, some of the border posts are being upgraded like to operate 24 hours, some of the others are being worked at to have a one-stop shop and so on. You see, that is the biggest thing. And also the thing that has just come up of Mozambicans who ran away from Mozambique during the time of the war with Renamo, about 40 years or more ago, and come and settled here. They now find themselves their children were born here and so on, and now they find themselves that they do not have documents that says that they are either South Africans or Mozambicans and all of that. So we are grappling with that. How do we resolve that? That is the Defense and Security Committee. Then on the economic one, the biggest show in town, it's energy. There are so many areas that have been identified that we want to cooperate with the Mozambicans on. As a result, the 2 ministers are going to have a bilateral discussion on concretizing those areas, on how do we cooperate with Mozambique and all of that. And in addition, our sale of electricity to them, and also their sale of electricity to us and all that. So
a very important one, given that gas is produced largely in Mozambique. They're the third biggest producers of gas in the African continent. Any talks, especially given the spates of load shedding that we're seeing, that we can see more gas coming into South Africa?
I don't think we addressed load shedding per se. We didn't address load shedding, but what we addressed was that how do we cooperate that in the area of energy, and also the question of taking into consideration of the as you correctly said, that the third largest producers of gas in the world and all that. How then do we work with Mozambique in that regard? Not only in gas, but also in hydro, and also areas like Cabora Bassa, it's hydro, and ESCOM is not hydro, it's coal. So how do we put all of those together? Actually, the energy, maybe I should say tongue-in-cheek, that is going to be the biggest driver of this relationship, because there are so many issues that the two sides have identified on what they want to do in energy. And then, of course, we've got the question of trade, which you mentioned. I won't go into that. And question of investment, that we are one of the largest investors in Mozambique. Almost all South African companies, huge companies, are in Mozambique. And this is one thing that we want to strengthen. And, of course, we are going to be looking at how are we going to assist in terms of food production.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of food production and agriculture and all of that. It's
quite broad issues that you're painting out there. The DDG of Africa and Durko, Ndumiso Njingo, just painting out some of the key issues that these discussions will be focusing on. And you heard energy being a major one, not only from the gas side of point where Mozambique brings in gas to South Africa, but a general mix. But interestingly, eNCA, you'd find out that these two countries are part of the 33 that recently abstained at that UN General Council looking into the Russia-Ukraine conflict that's currently going on because of their close relations with Russia.
Aviwe, will there be any opportunity to doorstop, which is our lingo for try and grab a question from President Cyril Ramaphosa on his phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin yesterday, and whether he will be making a phone call to Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, anytime soon?
So that's what we can hope for, eNCA, hoping that we'll be given an opportunity even as the media to just address the president with some of the questions and just maybe even concerns that we're having, not only on those issues. As I mentioned, these two countries are part of the 33 that recently abstained when it looked into that issue, the UN General Council looking into Russia and Ukraine. Even yesterday, speaking to Mondli Ngubele, the president of the minister in the presidency, from that cabinet briefing that happened on Wednesday, there were clear indications there that South Africa is abstaining. But of course, we saw those tweets. President suggesting that South Africa will be in a position to mediate between the two countries in this conflict that's ongoing. So definitely we'll be sharp and ready as the media to pose those uncomfortable questions to the president.
All right, Aviwe Mtila there at the Union Buildings. Thank you so much. We're going to a short break, but we will be back.